And in the famous words of Nelson Mandela, sport is once again proving that it does have the power to unite the nation. It was a fantastic victory at the FIFA World Cup for Banyana. South Africa beating Italy yesterday to advance to the knockout stages of the tournament. They have become the first South African national team to reach the knockout stages at a World Cup. But it wasn't the only thing we were celebrating yesterday. Down to the wire. It was amazing to watch. I didn't catch the whole game. I saw the highlights, though. Proteas netball team clinching a stunning draw against New Zealand. Yes, it's a draw, but it does keep their World Cup dreams alive. Well, what, of course, does it mean for Brand and a Brand Africa? Well, let's bring in Thebe Ikalafeng from Brand Africa, of course, their founder and chairman. And what a way to show, Thebe, good morning to you, that sport really can still foster unity and social cohesion. And let's be honest, as a country, we need a bit of a break and something fun. Good morning.
Good morning, Gareth. And you're absolutely right about what a brand like Banyana has done for South Africa. Remember where we are in the country right now, even in the continent, we are not in a winning space. And with the victory of Banyana, we now have an opportunity to be able to tell the story of South Africa as a country which has in its DNA ability to win.
And it's such an important discussion to have, not just around that of winning, Thebe. When I saw the results last night and the reaction to both Banyana and the Proteas netball team as well, what is so important is that we're now starting to see, and it has always been the case, but it's now very much at the fore, is that it's the women's teams in Women's Month that, let's be honest, are outshining the guys a little bit as well. So from a branding perspective, and to see women doing sports stars doing so well, that's also got to be great for Africa and for our country.
Well, perhaps I'll quote a non-African to speak to the point. I think it's Margaret Thatcher once said, if you want to get anything done, give it to a woman. And the women have proven just that, right? They've proven just that, like you say. I mean, they are building on the momentum from the time when they won the Africa Cup of Nations. We have not won in football. Football is the biggest sport in the continent. It's the biggest sport in the country. It's the one sport that brings us together or pulls us apart. Because post every game, what do we debate? We debate about what this means and says about us. But what we also know is that it also speaks about the good values. It helps to promote the good values about a country, about a people, in terms of teamwork, in terms of rules, being a rules-based people and organization, but it also brings people together. I mean, we can look at from 2010, for example. You can look at 96, 95, when the Springboks also won, I think 2018 or so. That sport has got that incredible ability to bring us together just once as a country to focus on one goal, which is to put our country first. And sport, and certainly Banyana are leading in that. And what a time to do it during Women's Month. We shouldn't be celebrating Women's Month only in August, but today is a reminder that women are winners every day.
Yeah, it certainly is a great timing as well for August month. Let's not forget as well, the Springboks off to the World Cup later this year. We'll get to that. I'm sure we'll talk branding, you and I, later in the year when we get to the World Cup for the rugby. How do either of these teams, though, Thebe, now try and capitalize on this? There's an incredible amount of media interest. Yes, there always is in the build-up and when they have good results, but now that they're basically dominating in their various rounds, there's a lot of focus on them. How do we try and make sure that that momentum is carried through? You're a branding expert. How do they try and take this forward? How do the sponsors get all their leverage out of this? They get all the mileage out of this and make sure that in a couple of years' time, we're not talking about money issues, sponsorship issues. Surely this is the foundation that they can build up on.
Indeed, it is. I mean, if you think, let's take one country, for example, England. And let's look at the men's team. They have not won anything since 1966, anything significant. But guess what? Every single year thereafter, they all get together to re-inspire the hope and belief that they can win as a country. The challenge that we have in South Africa, in particular, even in Nigeria. I mean, how fun is it that the two biggest nations, Nigeria and South Africa, the women have qualified? And the problem that we have with those two countries is that we are such short-termists that even from a sponsorship as well as from an administration, that we focus on today's victory or today's near victory, rather than look at it and say, this is the foundation for future victories. This is the foundation for nation building. So what we need to do as a country, as sponsors as well, is not just to say that, oh, well, they almost won. Oh, well, they're going to lose against Netherlands or so. Oh, well, we always come short. It's rather to say, how do we institutionalize a culture of winning? How do we institutionalize the systems that will enable us, if we come short now, to certainly triumph in the next time? So I think this requires a partnership with three anchors, both from an organization like a SAFA, which manages sport, to try and eliminate some of these challenges that we have year in and year out before the major events like we had. I mean, it's amazing that Banyana actually won, considering that the challenges they had from logistics before getting there. The second partner that we need to bring together is the country itself, as the people in South Africa and Africa, is to understand that winning doesn't happen overnight, that it takes time, but also every single victory counts. And third, from a sponsor, that don't just come for the ride when we are winning, but come with us when we are winning.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to start saying goodbye to you in just a couple of moments. Thebe, before we get there, though, I want to try and bring it back home into the younger future women sports stars in our country. Do you think this might be the change that we need to see more sponsorship, more money coming into grassroots women's sport in South Africa? Because arguably they're getting more coverage than the men's teams. I know I'm going to get some criticism for that, but arguably they are. Banyana Banyana having done the best of any South African team at a World Cup.
Let's think about what women have done in football. If you remember Natasha Chiklas from Sundowns, who perhaps was one of the people who laid the foundations for the strength of the Sundowns that you see today. You see a woman like Ria Ledwaba. Those women the SAFA should be working with women like that vociferously and say, how do we use this opportunity to showcase that women are equal, not second best and not just behind, but they're equal to the task. But the beauty about what we're seeing now is this is an inspiration for the young girl. It's an inspiration for the young girl everywhere else. And as we've seen how the numbers have rocketed in America and in England behind women's sport, even in Australia, which doesn't really necessarily have so much of a female sport culture or football culture. So what we need to do is we need to build on those momentum and say, what do we do in our schools? I mean, right now, when we were all growing up, there was so much we could do in schools. Right now, all the kids do in school is just be on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. But when we all were growing most of the time, we had to play sport, we had to do arts and culture at school. And those were very, very important foundations because they help to create holistic human beings and also help to create an idea and a sense of what it takes to win. I think what we need to do right now from a SAFA, from a South Africa Department of Sports and Culture, from a sponsorship and from the institutions like SAFA, we need to build on this momentum. We need to build on this achievement so far. Remember, we're just on the way to something greater. So what we need to do, we need to say, how do we go back to the schools and institutionalize sports the way we used to have it and ensure that going forward into the future, the kids understand the role that sport plays. And we've spoken about it in terms of creating good, promoting good values, bringing people together and creating a culture of winning and finally creating role models for the young girls and boys.